Now I'm going to talk about the tea industry. Okay? First thing, you have very little organic tea, maybe about 4%. That means when you come to tea, in organic tea, it costs about 3 or 4 times more than petroleum tea, which I would call petroleum tea. The very fact that you can't have organic tea means that the tea industry is non-sustainable. And now government is trying to give some to 200 rupees or something like that when you increase the pay. If the government is providing money and then they charge taxes, so I don't understand this kind of crazy economics. You have taxes, cess, and then you give a subsidy to pay the salaries. Okay, the exact mechanism is not known, but it is said the government is going to pay some 200 rupees or something like that. So why do you charge the taxes and then you pay? Right? This is real typical Sri Lankan economics. Now, as long as you have reserve currencies, I mean, if you are valuing it in terms of reserve currency, dollars, that means you can't measure sustainability, right? Whether you increase the pay or not is a different matter. I mean, I'm not thinking about if the government has to pay a part of the salary, that means there's something terribly wrong with the industry. And as long as you use a reserve currency, which can be the dollars can be printed at will. Printed means electronically. That means there is no way you can measure the tea industry, sustainable the tea industry. Now, the rubber industry, you can have rubber industry without putting petroleum fertilizer. The only thing your yields drop, but you can do it. But the tea industry, you can't do that. Okay. So I am just talking about the sustainability of the tea industry. Now these people say that tea industry earns like 30% of foreign exchange and things like that. I mean, that's a distortion. As long as you have a fiat reserve currency, it doesn't even try to measure sustainability. Now, before 1971, when the dollar was tied to gold, then there is a level of sustainability there. But I saw another program using these cocoa beans as a sustainability, as a measure of sustainability. As against silver and possibly gold, but that's a different matter, okay? Because if you use cocoa beans as the currency, and then if you have empire, then you have to have some way of controlling the agricultural land, because if the yields drop, the cocoa beans, then the value of the currency goes up. So when you invest in agriculture, then there is an element of sustainability there. So there was a program about this South America, where before the Western powers came there, they used the cocoa beans as the currency, and cocoa beans, you can't keep it for a long time because then they rot. Okay, so there is an element of natural renewable and element. You can't store cocoa beans unless you use chemicals. So this is, we are talking about 200-300 years before. Okay, so we don't have this kind of chemistry then. So as opposed to silver, so this is kind of very different from what I think. That I have said that you have to use dollars, you have to use silver or gold as a currency. Now, present economic system is not sustainable. We saw what the Americans did to the Syrian economy, and then we know what the Americans are doing to the Cuban economy. We also know what they did to the Venezuelan economy. We know what they are doing to the Iranian economy. So, as long as you use the dollar to measure sustainability, it has no meaning, right? So, to saying that T earns $2 billion or something like that, it has no meaning. Okay, for many reasons. That first you have to provide people who are working there with food and water and medicine, electricity, so forth. So I look at these ecological footprints and biocapacity, which most of these mainstream economics even don't mention. But in some countries, ecological footprints and biocapacities are incorporated into the accounting processes. Okay, so that's, if Sri Lanka can incorporate ecological footprints, concept of ecological footprints and biocapacity, then we can move towards sustainability. ධර්නිත්‍යයට යන්න ඕන නම් තිරසාරය ගන්න මම පිළිගන්නේ. එතකොට මේ ජීව ධාරිතාවය, බයෝකැපැසිටි, පරිසර පියසටහන් ඒවා තියෙන්න ඕනේ තමන්ගේ ආර්ථිකයට. ඒවා අදහස් දාන්න ඕනේ. This is the minimum thing where you can think about sustainability. If you don't have ecological footprints and biocapacity in economics, then it is a necessary condition. I wouldn't say it is sufficient, but it's necessary. It's minimum condition. So I think we should try to introduce these ecological footprints and biocapacity. And as long as you are trying to measure economics in terms of fiat currency, fiat reserve currency, now, right? Because the Americans, using the economic sanctions, they destroy the sustainability. They are forcing certain countries to adopt the American system. So that's not sustainable, right? So when it comes to tea industry is not sustainable. It might have earned a certain amount of foreign exchange, but if that is measured in US dollars, then it has no meaning. Especially after 1971, when Nixon got rid of the gold standards, that means your measuring of stuff in American dollars, as far as sustainability is concerned, it is irrelevant. And if the government has to pay 200 rupees, just forgetting my way of thinking, if you take from the orthodox way, the government should never do the payment. Then it's better to remove the taxes. You have some tax for rubber and tea industry. You have certain amount of tax, and then you come and give subsidy. I don't understand these economics in this country. You have to do administration, so you have to pay salaries. using taxes, and then if you are giving another subsidy for 200 rupees per day for a salary, that means you have to spend a lot of money for administration. So I mean, can you please tell me what kind of economics you have in this country? Okay. It's crazy. Okay, so tea has never contributed to Sri Lanka's economics in a sustainable manner. Especially after 1971, I mean, you can't even fathom it. You can't have idea about the tea industry or any export industry, especially with America putting lot of sanctions on a lot of countries. That means the US dollar has no meaning as far as sustainability is concerned. The BRICS have to accelerate their mechanism for doing trade, which can bypass the dollar. Now, if somebody wants to use the US dollar, I think we should let them do it. I don't think the dollar should be ever destroyed, but I think it shouldn't be mandatory. I think it should be optional. Use of the dollar. Then you will move towards a more sustainable system.